In this video, we're going to go over how to relieve your lower back from some of the nagging stiffness that you may be feeling or sensitivity that you may get when going into some positions. I want to start by expressing that if you've ever injured your lower back or have chronic pain, please go see a specialist to get your back checked out. This video is not meant to solve the root cause of the pain. It's more of a temporary relief system while you go through this process. We'll discuss some myofascial release techniques that are going to help you promote blood flow and alleviate some of the tightness, some core strengthening exercises that's going to help you exercise to support the muscles around the spine. And I'm going to teach you an awesome lunge matrix that's going to help your hips and spine go through a huge range of motion that's going to help promote blood flow and keep the muscles working and loose. Today, all we're going to need is a lacrosse ball. The main concept of this video is we need to slowly loosen up the tissue of your lower back, retrain some of your movement patterns, and start to engage our core more frequently when we're performing movement patterns in a gym or when we're just moving throughout the day. It's hard to say what's causing your back pain, but by the end of this video, I hope I give you a few ideas of movement patterns you can perform that might be able to help mitigate and make you feel a little better from some of the pain you may be experiencing. First, we want to start by doing some myofascial release and just enhancing the fluid dynamics and promoting some blood flow to the subsequent muscles in the area. And then after that, we're going to work on stretching that tight tissue out. While laying face up on the ground, placing a lacrosse ball on the small of your lower back on your erector spinae, which is the musculature right next to your spine. Make sure you are not on a vertebrae, it's to the side. Whatever side the lacrosse ball is on, we can then reach and pull our knee into our chest, rounding our pelvis into a posterior tilt and pushing our erectors into the lacrosse ball. We're going to take deep breaths in this position, and we're not going to go through any movement. If you want to roll up or down an inch and then pull your knee back into your chest and take deep breaths, go ahead and do that. We're going to spend 1 minute per side searching for tissue that's tender and just slowly pull our knee in and out toward our body, again, helping find new tissue that's a little bit deeper that we can help promote fluid dynamics and get blood flow to the area. Breathing throughout this process is super important, so make sure you take deep breaths and you truly try to relax on the ball. That way, you're not on tight tissue that's active, you're on relaxed tissue that you're trying to work deeply into. Very important, remember to take deep breaths. I need you to relax on the ball for it to go deeper into the tissue. If you're tense, it's not going to be as effective. If the pressure from the lacrosse ball is too intense or painful, switch to a softer object like a tennis ball. The whole goal of us doing this soft tissue work, again, is just to increase fluid dynamics and enhance blood flow to the muscle. Just remember, tight tissue is like a dried sponge. It's not pliable and it's more prone to injuries and tears, and we won't be very receptive to the stretching that we're going to try to do to it. Next, we want to focus on getting a little bit of isolation and articulation in our pelvis and our lower back, and cat-cows are a wonderful way for you to articulate your pelvis in an anterior and posterior tilt and slowly work through each vertebrae, and again, stretching out some of the tissue of your lower back here, while also working on different pelvic positions, which is super important for core work or for deadlifting. To start, we want to begin in the tabletop position with our hands directly under our shoulders and our knees directly under our hips. Your back should be flat, and your head position should be neutral, looking down at the floor. Inhale deeply to prepare. As you exhale, slowly round your back towards the ceiling, tucking your tailbone and bringing your chin towards your chest. Focus on drawing your belly into your spine and creating a gentle stretch in your lower back in this process. Hold this position for 2 seconds. Next, we want to inhale deeply as we slowly arch our back, dropping our belly towards the floor and lifting our tailbone and chest towards the ceiling. Lift your head to look slightly upward into extension in your lower back and your neck. Hold this position again for 2 seconds. Continue to move slowly and smoothly between cat and cow poses, synchronizing your movements with your breath. Perform 15 repetitions, slowly again articulating between the two. Prolonged inactivity in sitting makes the musculature next to our spine, the erector spinae, as well as the quadratus lumborum, to become chronically tight. The tightness in these muscles can lead to stiffness and reduced mobility, and it persistently will cause lower back pain. Core strengthening exercises. After going through flexion and extension with the cat-cow stretch, let's now focus on firing some of the tissue of our core to get it to work and remember how to work when we need it to. If we have an underactive core and the musculature of our lower back is constantly compensating, just stretching won't help fix the problem long term. Doing proper core exercises, and by proper I mean the right core exercises, will emphasize that stability will be able to help our spine in strengthening the tissue around it and getting blood flow to where we need in our back that isn't healing is going to be such an important part of this process. The first movement pattern we're going to perform is a McGill Sit-Up. He's a world-renowned physical therapist, and he takes people who have major back injuries through a protocol to help them fix their injury as well as get stronger than ever. So we're going to perform the McGill Big Three here. The first exercise we're going to perform is a McGill Sit-Up. To perform the McGill Sit-Up, start by lying on your back with your knees bent at 90 degrees and your feet flat on the floor. Place your hands behind your head for support and begin performing a posterior pelvic tilt, pressing your lower back firmly against the ground, just like we would in dead bugs or a hollow hold. This action should immediately engage your core muscles as a cohesive unit. Maintaining this engagement throughout the lift is imperative. While doing this, lift your head and torso off the ground as one unit, being careful to avoid using any momentum or pulling with your neck. Hold this position for 45 seconds, ensuring that your lower back remains pressed against the ground throughout it. The key to this exercise is to keep that posterior pelvic tilt and pressure of your lower back pushing against the ground. This is going to help effectively target and engage the musculature of your core and not use our lower backs. Next, we're going to perform one of my favorite spinal stability exercises, which is the bird dog. Spinal stability is crucial for overall lower back health and preventing injuries. Start by getting into a tabletop position on your hands and your knees, with your hands directly under your shoulders and your knees directly under your hips. Engage your core to keep your spine neutral and stable. Slowly, extend your right arm forward and your left leg back, keeping both parallel to the ground in the top position. Make sure to maintain level hips as well as the level shoulder position. Avoid any rotation or tilting. Hold this position for 1 second before returning your knee and elbow to the center of your body and touching. Perform a set of 10 repetitions per side, taking your time. The bird dog exercise is excellent for strengthening the core and back muscles, thereby improving spinal stability and overall body control. But again, make sure you maintain that neutral spine and you're not going into extension and flexion, arching and rounding your back over and over. The goal is keeping your belly tight and then reaching out with your limbs while maintaining a perfectly neutral spine. The third and final core exercise, we're now going to work on anti-bend. To begin, get into a kneeling side plank position. We want our shoulders stacked directly under our arm and our legs and hips to be in a fully extended position with our knees bent back behind us. Press through our bottom leg, pushing our hips up into the air. Once there, lock your top leg out and hover it above the ground, trying to follow the same angle as your torso. Reach the top arm out over your head and think of having a straight line from your head all the way down to your extended foot. This kneeling side plank exercise targets the deep stabilizing muscles of the core, which are essential for maintaining proper posture and spinal alignment. By engaging the obliques, it helps improve lateral stability and reduces the risk of injuries related to poor strength. Lastly, I want to perform one of my favorite full body movement prep exercises, the lunge matrix. The goal is to take our spine through all of its ranges of motion. By that I mean flexion, extension, side bend, and rotation, while also taking our hip through all of the ranges: flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, rotation internally and externally. This is one of the most effective ways that you can take joint by joint through the largest range of motion and quickly get blood flow to your entire body, especially the musculature of your lower back. Flexion and extension in the frontal plane. Start with your feet together. Take a large step forward with one foot as it's performing a lunge, maintaining a relatively straight back leg while focusing on hip extension here. As you do so, reach your arms overhead and go into slight lumbar extension. Once you absorb your momentum stepping forward, I want you now to step back and land the same foot that stepped forward 6 inches behind your other foot, maintaining a straight front leg and a slight bend in the back knee. This is key. Allow your torso to fall forward, rounding into slight flexion and reaching your arms up behind you into extension. Repeat this process 10 reps per side. This is a wonderful way for you to now get flexion and extension of your lumbar spine and provide blood flow, as well as for you to take your hips through the same exact concept. Remember to take deep breaths throughout this process and take your time. This is something new and it's a little complex, so start slow and start to speed things up as you go along. Next, side bending in the sagittal plane. The next portion of the lunge matrix, I now want us to work in a sagittal plane, or work left to right, taking lateral steps. This is going to work our hip in a slightly different way, and now we're going to go through some side bend when it comes to our spine. With our feet together, take a large step to the side, landing the foot in a neutral position and facing forward with your toes. Shift your weight to the side that you did the lateral lunge to. Make sure that your knee tracks over your toes and your foot is straight. The opposite leg should be locked out, lengthening the tissue of your adductors. From here, reach the arm on the side that you stepped over to, over your head as you side bend in the opposite direction. This is going to stretch your lat and your QL. The bottom arm should reach under you in the opposite direction as you're doing this. Absorb your momentum when you step over and then step back to the beginning position, but instead, crossing the stepping leg over the stationary leg and side bending the opposite way. Reach the other arm overhead and stretch that QL and lat. Perform 10 reps per side. Lastly, we're going to now work in the transverse plane, meaning we're going to be trying to get some rotation involved throughout this movement pattern. With feet standing shoulder width apart, take a large step behind yourself while opening your hip into external rotation. I like to think if I'm standing at noon, now I'm stepping to 4 o'clock or 8 o'clock, depending on the leg that's stepping back. Once you've stepped into that position, have both arms follow in that direction and let your momentum and rotation allow them to reach all the way back behind you. Once you collect your momentum, step back to your starting position, but instead of your feet matching in the neutral position, I want the foot that had stepped back to go now in front of the opposite foot, creating internal rotation of the hip, and you're forming a T with your feet. Complete 10 repetitions per side. Try to do this with legs locked out when you make the T in the final position. Performing this protocol after prolonged periods of sitting at your desk or while traveling are going to help you promote blood flow and engage the core, alleviating some of the pain that you may be feeling in your lower back. It's also going to help you regain proper mobility in your thoracic spine and your hips. So it's a win-win. Tightness in lower back plagues today's society, and we need to continuously learn why and what positions and imbalances are contributing to this issue that we have. Implementing regular body work with a professional massage therapist can also be a really wonderful temporary relief. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you find some relief for your lower back. Continue to reach out and ask me questions. I would love to help however I can, or reach out and I'll send you to the best massage therapist I can in New York City, Kevin Zay. So please have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon. Take care of yourself. Your future self will thank you.